Welcome, Sojourners. You have found yourself a cozy place here at Sojourners Awake. I'm Jonathan, and this is our production of The Bookish and the Brave. In this most recent production, the Sojourners have many happy reunions as they are finally gathered together once again. But still, they have to go find the Amberdoom gang and navigate the dangers of Bochen. And they do so. And so for now, our story continues. It's on. So both of y'all roll initiative. 17 is to beat.
20 for Hawkins.
14 for Vaughn.
All right. So Hawkins, you have the upper hand. Go for it. What are you going to do?
Hawkins will have to take a step back to grab his bag off the table, and then he'll just sprint heading for the door into the courtyard, interrogation room, and in that direction.
Go ahead and make a stealth check as you move through the atrium. There's a chance that one of the arcanists will spot you, making a run for it.
Natural 20.
Without incident, you can see that the arcanist back is to you. You've got a clean break. Because of your movement, you did notice that the guard room is to your right. The open square is to your left, and it's kind of like the lobby of an international airport that you're about to enter into. Anything else on your turn?
That'll be it.
Okay, actually the guards are going to respond. Yeah, they're going to go for 2 attacks against you. Going to shoot you. Nothing to write home about. It's a natural 1, of course. And a 16 with an arrow.
Neither one hits.
Okay. Just ping, ping. They just knock against the wall. Yeah, you swipe one with your hand. The arrow goes clattering to the side. The guards are struggling and bumbling to get up. Your blonde beard masking your face. What do you do, Vaughn?
Vaughn's going to pull the door closed. Is there a latch on the outside that he can seal them in there?
Because I described it as an interrogation room, yeah, there's a way to lock it.
Okay, so he's going to seal the door with them in there, and then he's going to follow Hawkins, chase Hawkins out.
Make your stealth check. Going for a 10 or higher.
15.
They're not paying attention. Yeah, you lucky. Vaughn also sliding to the side. You see Hawkins move through the saloon doors of this open square space. You leave behind the teleportation room before they even know what's going on. You enter into the open square, and you see now that it's busy with crowds, a few Bay Knight guards, and shops. There is a clothing shop and a bakery.
Let's duck into one of these shops real quick before those guards start yelling. And maybe the clothing shop, we can change our outfits.
That sounds like a great idea.
You take the clothing shop, and as you walk in, there's a man there. He's turns around really quickly, and he's putting some clothes and says, "Oh, yes, can I help you? How can I help you?"
We're just looking for some cloaks.
Oh, I have plenty of cloaks and plenty of raiment for the cold weather, something for your size. Will this be appropriate? And he hands up 2 animal mink coats of very proper attire, very noble wear. We're having a going out of business sale, selling it because of all those blasted nobles. They've given up so much of their information and property so graciously. You can see that he's egging you on about the nobles.
If we look like nobles, will we be in trouble? Because you just said the nobles are a problem.
Oh, they were a problem. Isn't that right? If you wear one now, no one will bother you. You'll just be considered an arcanist or a proud member of Bochen, free from the noble grip.
Okay, one for me and one for my friend here. How much is that going to cost?
It'll cost you 10 gold.
Okay. And Vaughn hands him 10 gold.
You clothe yourself in these fine animal cloaks. You are well disguised. You should feel pretty good about this point going back into the square.
Let's get out of here.
Back into the open square, you see that there are a few shops, the bakery. There are a couple Bay Knights walking around, as well as plenty of crowds. But from the open square, you can now move into the upper city. At that moment, you see Sterling and Yadsbro pointing this way and that way, trying to read the signs. Every once in a while, Yadsbro even boldens himself to ask for directions. And soon enough, you see that Yadsbro and Sterling walk right by you towards the teleportation center of Bochen. Sterling, go ahead and make a perception check. You're going to have to get higher than a 20 to succeed.
I got an 11, but it was about to get an 18, which would have been fine.
So you do not notice the intricacies of Vaughn and Hawkins. However, Vaughn and Hawkins, you could easily spot Sterling.
If Yarsborough is leading the way, are they side by side?
Yeah, it's kind of like the blind leading the blind.
How crowded is the square? Are there people all around them?
Yeah, it's a pretty busy place, but the roads are a little bit less busy. So there's sidewalks on either side where the people are mingling, and then in the middle, about every 10 seconds, another kind of carriage or cart moves through the city in a very respectable fashion.
Vaughn would like to... Hawkins sees him too, right?
Yes.
So Vaughn would like to get close enough to grab Sterling's arm before he goes all the way to where the teleportation circle is. And so he would just kind of sneak, I guess, and grab him by the arm and then try to grab him tight and say, Sterling, it's us. We look like dwarves, but kind of. But it's us.
I'm sorry, man. I don't have any money.
Sterling, it's Vaughn and Hawkins.
Oh, you're the ringing in my head. Oh, okay. Wait, you look all funny.
Just told you that.
Oh. Sorry, it's been a long 3 days, but you've got quite a story to tell. Should we be getting out of here?
The abyss looks good on you.
Why is he here?
Oh, this is my mate Yasbro. He's been really kind, and he's been helping me out. And I mean, I haven't replaced you or anything. Don't get me wrong, but he's been handy. He's been teaching me things.
Something else you could probably teach me. Do you have any medicine for rope burn?
Vaughn's gonna turn away. He's better off not talking anymore.
Within the upper city, you see that Bay Knights are moving through in squad-like fashion. The lower gate city moves towards the west, back where Sterling came from. You see that in the caravan, there is one priest of Malar, the hunter. And on the back of his cart, he has a large elk. Appears to be driving towards the butcher. There is a caravan of bards and acrobats, entertainers and singers that are all squished together in this tight family wagon, all sleeping soundly while the wagon driver drives them towards the theater. You see a funeral wagon, a solemn woman who drives a lonely horse taking a hearse. And finally, you see a carriage. It looks like it might have belonged to a noble house at some time. The windows are drawn and a proud man sits, cracking the whip at two draft horses. In this part of the upper city, what do you pay attention to, and how do you respond? Hawkins.
Not knowing whether Sterling has spoken with Aeon Keen and gathered the information that you need to finish out this mission. And that might be his. It's not really a conversation to have on a busy street. So maybe Hawkins is first going to look for a place where we can pull off to the side and have a quick chat.
There are plenty of shops. There is a jewelry store. There is a small coffee shop. And you also see that there is yet another clothing store. Vaughn, what do you pay attention to, and how do you respond?
Vaughn is kind of letting Hawkins lead the way, but he is watching the guards, the ones that are in formation and the other ones that are kind of wandering, looking to see if any of them have an elevated perception, like they've been made aware of us, if those guards got out or if the alchemist let them out, and now they're looking for two funny-looking dwarfs. So he's just trying to perceive any guards that could be alert to who they are and trying to find them.
For your information, go ahead and make a DC 15 perception check.
That's 21.
You know that you only have about 30 more minutes before this spell wears off, and then your face will be recognized. You can see that there is no level, at this moment, there is no level of heightened alertness. No one appears to be searching for anyone yet. But given the encounter you just had, it is probably only a matter of time. Sterling, what are you paying attention to and how do you respond?
So the reason Sterling got there late was because he's never been in the upper city, and so much like he was in the lower city, he's just darting backwards and forwards, looking at all the different items, looking at all of the different things going on. But when he sees the hearse, he starts joking with Jasper. Hey mate, that's your area of expertise right there, right?
Yes. And I thought my jokes were bad.
Oh, you haven't been around me long enough. You just ask my friends.
Hawkins, leading your party out of the upper city, to what direction would you go, given all this information?
I think we'll want to go away from places where there are likely to be guards. So away from thoroughfares. This part of the city isn't super familiar with him. So he might tap on Vaughn's knowledge to get us to the lower city where he's a little bit more familiar. And then from there be able to navigate a little bit better to kind of a secluded spot. Not rushing, but also going quickly, knowing that, we're on the clock here.
Indeed, you are on the clock. You should feel the crunch time that you've made one action so far. You have 2 left to spend here in the upper city. The quickest way out appears to be through some kind of caravan. The slower way out, but requiring a higher level of stealth, would be to try to mingle in with the crowds, moving towards the lower city gate back into Torntown. That would take longer, require more stealth, and risk the chance of a bane. There are also the 3 shops that were mentioned that could buy you some time.
I don't know if we're going to be able to move freely as long as this fella with the big horns over here is with us. We might need to find some way to sneak out on one of these vehicles.
Do you mean like a heist?
Well,
a robbery?
No, I just mean hitching a ride if we can.
Well, I'm disappointed.
Oh, we had a heist. We'll tell you about that sometime, Sterling. But maybe the cart that has those circus performers, they don't seem to be too lively right now. We might even be able to slip on and hitch a ride without them knowing.
Yeah, as you walk towards the cart, you see that it is moving pretty slow. The person outside seems to be one of the entertainers, pulling the short straw, driving his sleeping companions. How do you approach the carriage?
Hawkins won't get in the way of their progress, but since it's moving kind of slow, he'll say, Say, what direction are you headed?
We're going to the theater, of course, in the lower part of the city, in old Little Mayadaxar.
You look pretty tired, and we're heading in that direction. Mind if would you be willing to let us drive the cart for you while you grab some rest?
That is very clever. Go ahead and make a persuasion check, DC 5.
14.
Yeah, easy enough. Hey, you offering me free sleep? Of course, come up here and drive along. He yawns and stretches and, hey, make room for me. I'm coming back. What are you talking about? Yeah, I got someone to drive. Just shut up.
Are we going to have any trouble getting through the gates? Do you have any identification or
Here,
anything?
he takes off his coat and his hat and says, here, just wear this. Tell him you're with the Dancing Oranges.
All right. Sounds good, sir. Now you have a good rest.
Yeah, sure, man, whatever. On the cart, Vaughn and Sterling, you see Hawkins take the reins and move quietly through the city. Where do you go?
Vaughn is going to try to find a corner inside the trailer or the cart that he can sit, because disguise or no disguise, his face needs to not be seen if possible. So he's going to try to go inside with those other guys. And if anybody gives him crap, he'll offer them his mink jacket.
Sterling?
So Yasbro, are you coming with us, mate? Or are you like, what's your plans? What you doing? We're about to get on this cart and get out of here.
Yasbro is down the street. See ya! And he gets into the hearse.
See, I knew that was more his speed. Oh well, I'll climb up in the front with Hawkins and start juggling.
Okay. With Yasbro leaving you, Vaughn, you squeeze into the caravan. It is incredibly smelly, smelling highly of patchouli and oil and body odor. And an orcish man is actually sitting there, and he, hey, mind the guitar. Watch out. Hey, I remember you, man. Last night you were great. I've never seen a jig that speed. It was awesome. Seriously.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So, you're gonna be here forever, huh? Now you're a part of the Dancing Oranges. I know it's a stupid name, but it was a vote.
Well, you know how it is with us. You know, we are here sometimes, and then something else comes up. You know, maybe the Dancing Apples will want me next.
Is that it, though? I mean, are we ever really here? I mean, think about this. We're all a dream. And some guy's just sitting on a beach, passed out drunk, and he's dreaming about us. And we're just the manifestation of that dream. Shut up, man. I'm trying to sleep. I mean, I want to hear what dude over here. Yeah, my dude. I want to see what my dude says about that theory.
Well, my man, I think you're right. We probably are just a dream, but you know, we can dance in the dream. We can dance if we want to.
Hold on. He starts writing that down.
We can leave our cares behind.
Wow. Yeah.
Because if friends don't dance, if they don't dance, well, they're no friends of mine.
Oh my gosh. And he starts picking out on his guitar. It's beautiful, man. He wipes away a tear. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Sterling and Hawkins, you're moving gracefully through the city at this point, completely blended in as the Dancing Oranges, moving quietly through the city. The Bay Knights give you no attention whatsoever. How do you spend your wagon ride to Little Mayadaxar?
There's a lot to catch up on, for sure. I think Hawkins will start by asking how his time was, how Sterling's time was. It seems like you and Yasbro got kind of close, I guess. Last we saw, he was tied up and gagged and not very friendly. How is it that he's walking through the city free with you?
Oh, not really. I just thought do the next right thing, and he was there, and he wanted to help, and we got pretty close, but I don't think he really lets anybody that close. He called me a loner of all things. Funny guy. But yeah, so we were, my goodness, we studied hard for 3 days, trying to find a way to bring you back. I didn't know where you went. I just blink, and I really went through it there in the basement, Hawkins. I can only imagine what y'all went through.
It was difficult for sure. We were in the abyss. You may have found that out through your studies, but it was not a pleasant place by any means.
Yeah, I did a little study in there. It sounds insane. I mean, all this bravado and proving yourself and just walking around like, I can't imagine what you did.
Well, as it turns out, that Rudderkin that we followed through to the abyss turned out to be quite a trophy. So we didn't have to do much besides just finish it off.
I knew it. I swung and I missed, and yeah, I felt like I failed you. I felt bad there for a minute, but I'm so glad you're back now. It was scary.
It certainly was. That fight could have gone 100 different ways, and we're all still alive, so let that be behind us now.
Praise the stars. I agree. That was it's good to have you back. And Vaughn seems a little different. He well, more than just the looks, obviously. But yeah, I don't know. It was good to hear. I got this ring. I met his mentor. I met Chaffney. I met his leader of the Cloverblades. He was there. He had the nobles, and I found them. They were in the closet. It's a secret room. Yasro kept poking fun at me that I couldn't find it, but I found it. And then I got them to Ion Keen, and he took them and got them away and smuggled them out. So I think that we did the mission. Oh, and he told me where they were. He told me where the Abadoon gang was, but I guess we need to get out of the upper city first.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm glad you're able to finish that up without us. I'm glad there weren't any more big dangers in there that you.
Yeah, the thought of going and fighting or getting the Abadoon on my own was a little intimidating. I was a bundle of nerves for like a whole day and a half.
I certainly wouldn't even attempt it myself.
I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to do. It was, but hey, that's all right. It's in the past. Let's keep moving forward, as they say.
Yep. And from then, Hawkins will tell him about how Vaughn was.
He sounded like me, like all high energy, like, oh my goodness, what's going on? Wow. I bet that was an experience. He always seems so mellow.
It was definitely very different.
How did you keep your cool? I mean, we're cool, we vibe, but yeah, that must have been insane.
I'll never forget it. I'll tell you that. And I can't hardly describe it can't do it any justice by trying to describe it to you. You'd never heard a man speak like that, much less Vaughn.
It's being a bookend isn't easy, is it? I mean, this is our first assignment. It's if they all go like this, it's no wonder we haven't seen that many around.
They did try to warn us that the life expectancy was awful short for a bookend. I guess they weren't kidding.
Out of the crowd, you hear a whistling noise and 2-3 eggs crack on the side of the carriage. Your music sucks.
Hawkins will kick up the horse a little bit faster pace.
And you move through, finally back into Torntown. By this time, Hawkins, your beard has disappeared, and you appear back as your normal self. Vaughn, you wake up from a much needed nap, and you appear completely different. The orcish man kind of leans over and says, "Hey, you shaved.
Yeah, man,
I liked the beard. I liked it though, man. It was really real."
Well, yeah, it was really real, but I got bored as we were driving. You know, you were all sleeping, and I just thought, man. So I shaved.
Glad to hear your voice hasn't changed though.
That wasn't enough time to change my voice.
Hawkins, no one has woken up yet. With the knowledge that you are to head to Little Mayadaxar, which is a dragonborn ghetto that exists on the outer city. There's a large theater there that's been built where even nobles and people from the outer and lower city would all congregate. The Dragonborns built this theater and managed it, as well as kept to themselves very quietly during even the time of the Elithri elves. You know exactly where this theater is. You may have visited it once or twice. With the knowledge that this carriage of troubadours is to go to that theater, but you have the reins. So how do you proceed?
I think Hawkins is inclined to do what he said he was going to do. So he's going to, unless something happens, he's going to drive the cart to the theater. And I'm probably encourage Vaughn and Sterling to get off before they get all the way there, just in case they get detained. But
okay, so you move through Torntown. You even pass by the crypts of Hellsalts. You go through the city wall, now into the lower part of the city. You mosey on past Stone Eyes, where porters and stables and proud liveries of horses and beasts of burden have been taken care of for years and years. You pass through Non-Chapel, a quiet farming community. And something you notice about this, Vaughn and Hawkins, for the first time, you see that not all the buildings have been destroyed. It seems as if this quiet farming community has been exempt from the terrors of Bochen. And finally, you come to Little Mayadaxar, a dragonborn ghetto. And as soon as you get here, you see that the streets are very empty. The orcish man kind of gets outside and squints in the sunlight. Says, "Whoa, this is a terrible reception. Hey, we're here." Everyone begins bundling out of the carriage. It looks like a clown car show. Everyone is just squeezing out. 25 troubadours, instruments, jugglers. A contortionist is like squeezed up into a small little suitcase. They open up the suitcase. I can barely breathe in there, man. Well, come on, you're out now. And this long man stretches out and double jointed, starts popping his shoulders and knees back into joint. Everyone climbs out and stretches their legs and instantly begins setting up right there in the middle of a field, a campsite. All right, we're performing by nightfall. The three of you finally convene not as troubadours, but as sojourners for the first time.
Hello, Sojourners. If you are happy that Vaughn, Hawkins, and Sterling have finally reconvened, leave a rating and review on your favorite podcasting platform. And so our story continues.
So where do we go to now?
That's it? No, hello, I've missed you. What's good? Brother, give me a hug. It's so good to see your face.
I was trying to talk to you earlier, but you were playing with that demon guy.
He was only a half demon. I mean, you did tie him up, mate. those rope burns, those were real. Like I had to undo those knots too because he had to put this ointment in his eyes. Anyway, I don't want to get into it. But you know they hurt. So you know next time,
Vaughn's gonna grab Sterling in the middle of this diatribe and just give him a big hug, squeeze him real tight. Yeah, it's good to see you.
Good. Serpent Bridge, tobacco and potpourri. That's where the Amber Dune gang are. I kept going. I kept moving forward. I didn't want to there for a minute, but the steeple bottom rats, they were special, mate. They kept this little girl safe. You've got a good lineage there. I didn't know much about the steeple bottoms, but what I know, I met Chathy. I have your mother's ring. It's a gift from him to you. He wanted you to have this. Yeah, he
Okay.
He didn't look like you described him. But he looks healthy, and he was a man of a mission. He was on a mission. He saved them. He kept them safe. In fact, when I opened the door, he looked ready to pounce and to get me, but I managed to calm him down a little bit. But yeah, I met him, and he wanted you to have this. He managed to save it and save it out of Bochen. It's a beautiful ring. Every time I put it on, it makes me think of all the beautiful places that I've seen and this world that we live in. But here, I want you to have it.
Vaughn will take the ring.
It is your mother's ring. The memory of her serving Soon, the goddess of beauty. For indeed, she always found everything so beautiful and seemed to find beauty in even the most sullen of times. The wearer of this ring finds beauty in all things. And once a day you can make a demonstrative action to show another person the beauty they see in the world as an automatic charisma check.
And then Sterling will get down on one knee and take the sword off his hip. My liege, and offer Vaughn his blade.
Thank you, Sterling. You've done very well. Thank you for this, and he'll show him the ring. And for this, as he takes the sword. You are a good friend.
Well, takes one to know one there, mate, but I appreciate you. It would have been hard to move forward without you.
Well, we don't have to worry about that now. Do you know where Chathy went? Did he say where he was going?
He went with Ion Keen. With the Chinestan family. They were smuggling them out of the city. He's been doing that. He's been doing your work, but for the nobles now.
Oh, well, it is good to know that he's well, and maybe we can find him another time, but now it seems like we know where the next step of our endeavors take us.
Hawkins, as you're listening to this, go ahead and make your highest intelligence check. It's fair enough.
Then 11 investigation.
11. You're too distracted at this moment to pay any attention to something Vaughn or Sterling said. Nevertheless, you caught the entire details, just not any intuition.
Well, how far is it to Serpent Bridge, and is this by night only or in the daytime?
It is one more day to the Serpent Bridge, especially on foot. You will have to sleep somewhere. Having experience in this city, you have between you now the town of Whitecarn, Slaughterton, and Twinville before you reach the Serpent Bridge. 3 more towns to walk through, and one of them you will have to stay in.
We're in the outer city now, or we're...
Yeah, this is the outer city. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know that Vaughn's super familiar with the outer city, at least this far out. But would he know anything about any of those 3 towns? I know that things have changed, but seeing that this one town that we went through didn't change much, he would assume that maybe these towns this far out didn't change. And so would he have any prior knowledge to know which one would be best for them to stay in?
Go ahead and make a history check.
15?
15. So non-chapel should have surprised you. It was spared from the devastation. You can see in Little Mayadaxar, it has also been spared, but that makes total sense as the Dragonborns have been governing themselves. I'll hand you the information you would know about White Cairn. It is a farming community. There is a shrine to Shantea there, and for the most parts, they are just simple, common folks providing food and livestock. Slaughterton was a place that experienced most of the devastation in Bochen. You heard rumors that it was completely leveled to the ground. Nevertheless, it could exist as a complete ruin. It could also have some areas where buildings are still intact. And the last one was Twinville. It was a poor fishing village, and you did visit there once when you met Felix. It was the city that was closest to the Serpent Bridge right before you cross the River Sharon.
Well, we could, seeing as we need to find a place to stay, we could try to impose upon a nice farming family, or I do have a friend near the bridge. Obviously, it's been a while, and we have no idea what it is, and we have to go through some dangerous territory to get there. Would you like to travel through, or should we see if one of these farming families would take us in for the night? That might be the better option. What do you guys think?
I've been sitting still for 3 days. I'm ready to be on the move. Yeah, I think I hear my bed in Bold Top calling me too. I'm not gonna lie. So, but yeah, I'm down for whatever we agree.
I'm in favor of pressing on myself. We got some good rest in those couple of days at Grovelore.
Grovelore? What were you doing over there?
Well, when we left the Abyss, we came back with a wizard who had been sent from Grovelore on a little mission that we helped her out with. And so once we had a little bit of time to recover there, then we teleported from Grovelore over into Bochen, and really just a few minutes before we encountered you.
That's why you look like dwarfs. Yeah, Sylvia talks about Grovelore, about it's renovation and it's moving on in the world. It's done great things. Wow, that's amazing. I can't believe you got to see it.
It's pretty far away. I'd say we should go back sometime because they were very hospitable, those dwarves, but it's quite a distance. Maybe if we get a month off or so after this mission.
So you leave Little Mayadaxar. Do you press on to the farming community, the ruined village, or the poor fishing village?
The poor fishing village.
So you push all the way through.
Yep.
So you arrive in Twainville by night. As you move through, you're walking on foot. You move through White Cairn. You do see that it is a farming community. You notice the shrine to Shantea. And there are people farming, and for the most part, the peasants, the lower class, have been completely untouched. But instead of providing food for the nobles and providing food for all of Bochen, they continue to provide food for all of Bochen. But there's an increased demand for the war that is coming. And you see evidences of carts for Baneite soldiers only. You do see the red hand of Bane, and there is a vulture standing on the corner of a fence post. Perception check, high number winner to see who notices it first. Ooh, no one notices it.
Oh no.
That's great. Okay, so a couple of things happen at once, but for one reason or another, you do not pick up on it. And then you hear someone calling out in the distance, "Please, help!" This farmer comes rushing in, and he's got his arm bleeding. He's calling out for help. And a couple of the other farmers rush over behind the house, and you see a cart just thrown over to the side by some huge creature You hear a woman scream. She's grabbing a small child and she's just tearing through her field of corn, rushing, and you see that there's a large insect creature that has burst through the family's field and is terrorizing and chomping down. A couple of farmers are trying to stab at it with pitchforks and machetes, trying to keep it back from terrorizing and destroying all the crops. Roll initiative. This large insect creature has claws like a lobster, has beady eyes, and it's spraying this acid, burning up crops. The farmers are providing some kind of barrier with pitchforks, but this creature looks like it could snap one at any moment, taking a life. A couple young men step up with their fathers to keep back this creature. At that moment, Sterling, you notice the vulture as well. You don't know if it's prayer time yet, and it just stands there and watches you with dire red eyes. Given this situation, given your errand, and noticing that you are on foot, Vaughn with a 22, how do you respond?
Vaughn would probably help the farmers, so he will pull out his longbow and take a shot at the creature.
You're going for 14.
That is a 21 to hit, and he will use his Kensai shot to try to place that arrow directly in its eyeball. And he rolled horribly, so that's going to be 9 points of damage total.
It doesn't go into its eyeball, but it sticks between its chitinous plates. Anything else?
No.
Sterling, you are 20 feet away from this thing, so how do you respond?
So being only 20 feet away, Sterling would he would back up a little bit, but he would grab a hold of his star glass, and point his finger at it, and controlling it a little bit better now, he would guiding bolt it he's kind of seen it work a few times, and he feels a bit better about it now, trying to avoid hitting the farmers. So he gets a 24 to hit.
It does. You can see that this creature now is hell-bent on feasting on one of these farmers. At the bottom of the initiative, you have all this time to react before it does so. How much damage?
Does 14 damage, and he is lit up like a light bulb.
It's now just shimmering with this starry light. The farmers, blinded by this light, lean back just a little bit, but they've failed to even notice that you're helping out at this moment. One of them does so say, "Praise Shantea, she's on our side." But it is Hawkins' turn now.
Hawkins moves to take cover, so he'll go basically try to hide behind a cart.
Okay.
And as he does so, without really meaning to, he draws on this shadow, this extra shadow that he has. And as he starts to duck behind the cart, the shadow sort of creeps up his legs and covers him and makes him a little bit harder to see. So as a bonus action, he is hiding. That does cost him 5 hit points. But from there, he takes a shot with a crossbow using an incendiary tip.
Do so with advantage.
That's an 19 to hit.
Indeed. Roll your damage.
15 piercing damage, and it needs to make a wisdom saving throw.
I got 11.
Okay, the DC was 13, so it's going to work for the first time. All right, so the magnesium tip lights up as it leaves his crossbow, and it's so bright as it travels through the air that it grabs the attention of this insect creature, and it has disadvantage to attack anybody besides Hawkins.
Nice. So Hawkins, as you creep behind this cart, well, you haven't told anyone. This gnomish shadow is standing behind you, but you know the price you paid to escape the rotten mouth. The shadow then welcomes your life force and begins to siphon it off, and you just feel that body ache in each of your joints as it withdraws the 5 hit points, but simultaneously covers you in darkness, even in the middle of this sunset. As you shoot off this arrow, it blasts into this Ankeg, and it rears back, and with just 1 hit point, it is struggling to look around, and then it goes to chomp at one of the farmers, but it will do so with disadvantage. One of the poor farmers faded, just pushing back with a pitchfork. Not my farm, you creep! The Ankeg goes for an armor class of 12, and it gets a 7 as it rolls with disadvantage. It stomps, it chomps, and as it does so, the arrow that you had planted in its arm erupts a little bit. And instead of chomping down on this farmer, the insect's claw just falls to the ground. That gives an opportunity. The farmers just toss their pitchforks and chop it up and cutting open this insect. Acid goes spraying everywhere. A couple of the farmers get burned. But they successfully destroy this creature that sought to destroy their farms. And indeed, the women and the children begin dancing, praising Shantea. Immediately, one of the women goes over and just sobs at the shrine of this very proud woman who has protected their community. And quite literally in the shadows, the Sojourners watch on. But Vaughn, it is your turn. What would you like to do?
Vaughn, noticing that the insect monster is dead and the farmers all seem to be okay, I think Vaughn wants to just keep moving. We should move on.
Sterling.
Sterling's looking at the villagers and seeing the acid burns and wants to go over there and just kind of soothe their wounds a little bit, but he's in 2 minds between what Vaughn wants, because he did want to press on earlier as well.
Where do you walk?
I think he starts walking towards the villagers. Seems as he's backed up, but upon hearing Vaughn say we should go, he kind of stutters a little bit.
So you do not walk over there?
Not all the way. Then he stops and looks around for Hawkins.
And y'all do not see him. But Hawkins, how do you respond?
Hawkins will step out from his hiding spot and sort of look in shock at the shadow. He noticed it doing something. He didn't quite understand what happened. He definitely felt it though. And he'll walk over towards Sterling and catch his eye and sort of nod his head down the road and keep trudging.
I'm going to let the dice decide. Sterling, roll a d10. Tell me what the number is.
7.
7. If I roll a 7, it is time for prayers. Rolled a 1. Sterling, as you pass by the vulture, it does not look at you. Its beady little red eyes just blink uncomfortably, and its gangly neck stinks of carrion. As you look back, you can see the villagers are paying no mind to the vulture. You see, these people have 2 supervisions here. One that they are proud of. The goddess of nature, the goddess of agriculture, the goddess of seed and soil and earth and sun. They proudly praise the one who helps them farm and tend to the land. And yet another presence is here, the vulture of Bane, who demands their vigor and youth for war. But you walk on, and it is not time to pray. You move through Slaughterton. Vaughn, you see that it has been burned to the ground, except for one building, the butcher, You can only assume this is where the priest went. And indeed, you see that there is a cart and an elk, and a priest lifting the elk up, struggling a little bit, pulling it towards the butcher. The rest of this town has been literally slaughtered. You can only imagine how the Arcanists destroyed it. Or was it the nobles who fought back? You were not present during that time. You were safely away at Baldtop. You see children in bare feet, people who have had no place to live, not welcomed by any community. One little boy with blue skin and devil horns and a devil tail, rushing through ruined rock to door to shelter. There's a warning sign that's been hastily scrawled on with graffiti saying, "Death to the House Elethria. Death to the noble houses." You see another sign that says, "Death to the sympathizers, the ones who smuggle and protect and take up the noble cases." As you move through this horrible Slaughterton, the night is starting to burn. The night is starting to settle in thick. You see the twinkling lights of Twainville at a little bit of a distance over some wild territory, but nevertheless a lane that moves through them from Slaughterton to Twainville. First, what do you pay attention to here in this slaughter town? And how do you decide to press on, even through the night? Hawkins.
As the darkness sets in, Hawkins is definitely looking around for people who might be looking to ambush them. He'll take out the necklace of enlargement and will make himself look more intimidating, at the very least. So he'll pull it out and say, "Engorgio." And now there are 2 people Sterling size.
That is fantastic. Hawkins, indeed, you double in size and leave quite a footprint as you move through Slaughterton. You definitely do not appear an easy target in this moment. Sterling, what do you pay attention to, and how do you move through Slaughterton, this ruined village?
Sterling is sort of having flashbacks to when he first came to Bochen and just kind of what it was like before as he moved through the lower cities and now, and just seeing the desolation, the aftermath. That's not something he's used to coming from the military city, but what his eyes tend to go towards is the children playing, the orphans running around. He's kind of got a kindred spirit with them. He remembers what it was like and the fact that they don't see that. They see the fun, the joy, the playing with each other. Despite all the chaos and everything around them, the kids are still being kids and playing, and that warms his heart. And he, is making sure there's nothing trying to prey on them.
Go ahead and make a perception check then.
16.
You spend some time noticing the paths that these urchins and orphans take as they move through this ruined area. This haunt of parentless children. You know that this would be a great place to hide away if you ever had to flee. And Vaughn, what do you pay attention to as you move through Slaughterton, and how do you move through it?
Vaughn, after getting the confirmation from the other guys that they want to move on, is pretty single-minded. So he's noticing other things, but if it's not attacking them, he's going to push forward. So he's kind of moving forward, making sure that everybody's with him, but his focus is on the road ahead and what could be coming next.
And you arrive in Twinville, this poor fishing village. It is mostly quiet at this time of night. Everyone seems to have closed up. You know that fishing hours are usually at 4 a.m., but you have just broken into the late evening. There is only 1 or 2 lights on, a seedy place of drink and toxins. Otherwise, it seems like quite a nice place to live if you are accustomed to the smell of fish and the tangles of nets and twine. It seems like a nice place. But where do you choose to spend the night?
Vaughn would think about where he met Felix in the past and try to head in that direction.
It was a long time ago, so make a survival check. You're going for an 11 or higher.
How about a 5?
You are having a difficult time remembering this part of the city. The only thing you see is the small lights on at the CDN. Otherwise, there's 1 or 2 lanterns that are left on in the window at a few homes, where some folks have stayed up late.
I don't recall where my friend is from. Come to think of it, I don't even know if he had a home. But I don't remember. I think our best bet is to see if we can get a room in that inn.
I can't imagine it'd be too expensive.
Shall we go look?
This place doesn't even have a sign. As soon as you walk up to the door, a man gets thrown out by the bartender and "Stay out!" His sweaty, hairy arms and balding head, he wipes back and you can see his eyes are bloodshot. And he doesn't pay you any mind, but just walks right back into this area, and it stinks of fish and ale. And most of the times people are just lying around telling these enormously large fishing stories and cursing, the thick, heavy cigar smoke. And Hawkins, you then get quite a bit of attention as you duck your head in. Everyone kind of stops and stares. Although you're not quite the size of a giant, you appear giant. Everyone then quietly goes back to their drink.
Well, I think we've been noticed.
Do you want a table or a room? Says the barkeep.
We'll start with the table and then have a room too, I think.
Barkeep pushes you some drinks of some watered down alcohol and says it'll be extra if you want to get tanked. Otherwise, that stuff will just make you leak. He pushes forward the last bit of fare of day-old food and stale bread. You've arrived in Twinville, right before the River Sharon rushes quietly out the windows within your hearing. You're back to the river. And so for now, our story concludes.
Every story comes to an ending, so for now we must conclude. Thank you for listening, Sojourners. Your attention will not go unrewarded, and we look forward to continuing this adventure. And if you enjoy this background music and ambiance, then you should go to Tabletop Audio. You can find them at www.tabletopaudio.com. Whether you are studying for a big test, working out, or going on a long car ride, or planning your next tabletop role-playing game, Tabletop Audio has the background music and ambiance that you need. And take the time to sojourn with us. For articles on playing your very own Dungeons & Dragons games, you can see us at www.sojournersawake.com. You can find us being inspirational on Facebook and Instagram. And if you are interested in subscribing to a newsletter, find Sojourners Awake on Substack. However you choose to sojourn with us, as always, may your story continue.